Hi, I'm Bobby Allen with the Providence Bruins. Hazel and the Buzz are up next.
Thanks, Bobby. This week on The Buzz, we've got the P Bruins and their fast start out of the gate. We've also got Alex Ovechkin, who wears number 8. We got the week's best plays and Phil Kessel's Wired on draft day. Glenn Murray hits a milestone, and we'll try to crack the case of the anonymous hockey blogger.
It's a very secretive thing. Yeah, it's sort of like being a member of that secret society at Yale. Only certain people get to do this.
It's what's brewing with the bees, and it's all in The Buzz. Hey Bruins fans, welcome back to The Buzz, a hockey show for hockey fans. I'm Hazel May. Nice job by the Bruins on Saturday night in their 4-3 victory over the Senators. Now let's get the countdown started. The good people at NHL Productions went everywhere with Phil Kessel on draft day this past June. Let's head over to GM Place in Vancouver for number 10.
Boston Bruins are proud to select from the University of Minnesota, Phil Kessel.
Oh yeah, I'm real nervous. Now I'm happy. Now I'm happy. I'm happy now. All right, Phil.
Are you sending?
Nice to meet you.
Meet again, Phil.
Yeah.
We mean lots, so we're really happy.
Yeah, I'm real excited.
Yeah.
Let's hear my name called. I'm so happy.
Pretty good day, eh?
Yeah, it's been a great day. It's all just high. You know, I'm so excited to get drafted, and you know it happened, and so pumped to be a Boston Bruin.
Kessel was brought right up to the big club, skipping past the Bees minor league affiliate in Providence. This season, there are lots of great things going on in Rhode Island. The P Bruins have won 7 of the last 8, and they're here at number 9.
We've come together well as a team. We've a lot of the guys have bought into what the coaches are trying to say to us, and you know they've done a good job, you know, teaching the systems that they want to play. And you know, we've got a young, enthusiastic team, and I think you know we kind of feed off each other, and we've been able to string together some wins.
This year, it seems like we got a lot of young guys, but at the same time, they're obviously very talented and very skilled, and they have played major roles in our team, which I think is is different for a pro team. And you know, we rely on those guys to score big goals for us and to make plays and be responsible out there defensively.
The keys for us is our young talent being able to step in and make contributions, because we do have so many young players. We need to have them be effective on the power play and the penalty kill. And I think the other thing that's been very important is their aptitude to learn. They've done a great job of understanding the style of play that we want to have, how to adapt to the changes in systems for what they've done in the past. And you know, for that reason, I think we've gotten on the same page rather, pretty quickly compared to years past.
He's fair, and his confidence in all the players. You know, he knows that everyone has the ability to play, and his systems are always working. You know, the biggest thing is his systems work, and when we play within his system every night, if we play well and do what we're supposed to do, it works. We win hockey games.
Stretch pass, long pass, hard pass.
He's a really technical guy. He's going to bring a lot of videos before games, and then he's going to feed you, he's going to give you a lot of feedback during the game and then after, and between period. So you probably won't going to do the same mistake twice.
His stamp's all over the team. You know, he's very technical in what he teaches. You know, it's a lot of X's and O's, and guys are, you know, it's their job to know where to be at all times in the ice, and you have to know your job and you have to know everybody else's job.
We've always had great fan support. It's a hockey area, with the attraction of the Boston Bruins just being down the street, and people come to our games, and I think they know they're going to see future Boston Bruin players playing here, eventually playing for the Boston Bruins.
they love like when we play hard, and they will let us know that they're happy, they're gonna cheer for us, and then they love like nice plays and fights and stuff like that. So it's a good ambience for us, and it's tougher for the other teams.
So we get, tons of fans every game, and we have a lot of loyal, kind of diehard fans that follow us everywhere. So, it's always fun when you get people behind you like that.
It's only the beginning. We're off to a good start, which is good. It's good for us to, get off on the right foot. So the sky's the limit for this team, and hopefully we'll just keep, growing together and learning and climbing in the standings.
Great job by Coach Gordon and his squad. Coming up next, folks, we'll see the greatest goal scored last season and then revisit the classic Stanley Cup team from a golden era. The Buzz is brought to you by Subaru. All-wheel drive, all year long. Feel the freedom. And aceticket.com for Boston's best seats. Welcome back to The Buzz. Last season, Alex Ovechkin scored 52 goals, the third highest total ever for a rookie. With the Capitals coming to town this Saturday night, you've got to check out his incredible skills live and in person. Until then, though, here's a little taste of what makes Alexander so great. From the present to the past, we revisit one of the most successful periods in Bruins hockey when they won 2 of their 5 Stanley Cups in a 3-year span. Cowley, Conacher, Schmidt, and Shore lead the way as our own Tom Caron fires up the old time machine to 1939.
The Bruins hit the ice in 1939 with a great mix of veterans and young stars. But in November, the balance of that team was upset when goalie Tiny Thompson was traded to Detroit. Frank Brimzik had to replace the popular Thompson, and it didn't take long to do so, as the man who became known as Mr. Zero had 6 shutouts before the holidays. On offense, the Kraut line was ready to blossom, and with Bill Cowley, Roy Conacher, and Mel Hill, goal scoring was not a problem.
We had another great line there, Bill Cowley and Roy Conacher and Mel Hill. Cowley, one of the greatest stick handlers ever that I saw in the National Hockey League. One of the best passes. He could pass that little flip passes, which you don't see too much about today.
The Bruins lost only 10 games that season and faced the arch-rival New York Rangers in the first round. It was one of the greatest series of all times, 4 overtime games, including a Game 7 that went into 3 extra sessions. For the 3rd time in the series, sudden death Hill scored an overtime winner, and the Bruins went on to the finals, where they took care of Toronto in 5 games. After finishing first the following season but getting knocked out of the playoffs by the Rangers, the Bruins were back in the finals 2 years later. The team took care of Detroit in the first ever 4-game sweep of the finals. The team would surely have been a dynasty, but not for the war, and within a year the nucleus of that team was fighting for real in Europe.
If the war hadn't come along, I think that we would have won our share of Stanley Cups in a few years, equal to the Montreal Canadiens, who won it quite a few years in a row.
I'm happy to say we've got a visitor today. He's a former Boston College Eagle and a homegrown Bruin. The Buzz is thrilled to welcome number 41. At number 6 on the countdown, here's Andrew Albers. Hi, Albie. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Hazel?
I am excellent. Thanks for being here on The Buzz. I want to talk about that 04-05 season of yours. You were named All-American, and the Eagles won the Hockey East Championship that season. What was that experience like?
It was a great year. I have a lot of memories from that year, a lot of friends. Had a good time in the Hockey East winning that, so it was a good accomplishment for us. You being from Minnesota, and I'm assuming you were a Minnesota North Stars fan. Favorite player growing up? Favorite player would have to be Mike Modano.
Mike Modano. What do you like about him?
I was a young kid at the time when he was back in Minnesota. I think he was 18 and a little bit flashy. Kids like to emulate him as they're out on the rink, so I enjoyed watching Mike.
Tell me about your time with Zdeno Chara being paired up on defense by the captain here. What's that experience like? And tell me about the things that he's taught you.
Obviously, it's different. It's playing with Z. He demands a lot out of you as his partner, and he likes to talk a lot and make the right plays. And obviously, the most important thing is to keep the other team off the board. So he's done a lot to help me out, just with stick work, positioning, and just making smart plays. He's done a lot for me to help out my game.
Thanks for stopping by, and you're always welcome here. Take it away.
When we return, some helpful teammates of mine take time out of their busy schedule to help prepare for Thanksgiving.
Not bad, not bad. But first, we zero in on that player many fans love to hate. Not him, that's for sure. Darcy Tucker. The Buzz will be back in a moment. Welcome back to The Buzz. I'm Hazel May. Before we rejoin the countdown, a hearty congrats goes out to Glenn Murray. Scoring his 300th goal this past Saturday night makes him our buzz-worthy Bruin. The Halifax, Nova Scotia native with the booming shot began his career with the Bees in January of '92. He later moved on to Pittsburgh and Los Angeles before returning to Boston just 5 years ago. In his second stint wearing black and gold, Murray broke the 40-goal barrier twice and was named to 2 All-Star teams.
Murray shot, score! Off the far wing and off the goal stick of Gerber. Glenn Murray, second of the game and 8th of the year, and that is the 300th goal of Glenn Murray's NHL career.
The Toronto Maple Leafs are back for another Thursday night showdown, and with Mats Sundin on the shelf, Darcy Tucker is being relied on more than ever. He quietly broke in with Montreal as a 6th-rounder 10 years ago, but he's worked and worked to become the impact player he is today.
I don't think that my play in Montreal was indicative of how my career was going to go. I think that I needed an opportunity, and I was fortunate to get traded to Tampa and get that opportunity. And this year, I just think that with the new coach that we have, he likes guys that are playing hard every night and going out there and working. So just try to go out there and work as hard as I can.
And just like that, the Leafs get a power play goal. Darcy Tucker will get the goal.
Darcy Tucker was the guy I just hated to play against. He's a little rat. And he's always under your skin, and the kind of guy you just wanted to beat up all the time. And you know he's just doing his job, but you come to the team and now you're playing with him, and you start to appreciate that he is that kind of player.
I've enjoyed my time in Toronto. If you make an analysis, it's like being a Red Sox or a Yankee. Everything that people talk about in the city or around the water cooler in the morning is about the hockey clubs. And I still have to go out there and make sure that I'm helping the young guys, and we're working as a team to try to get those wins.
Moving on to number 4. Last week, Bruins Brad Boys, Mark Mowers, and Tim Thomas visited the Greater Boston Food Bank Turkey Drive kickoff. As always, our cameras were on the scene.
Boston's a fantastic sports town, and at Thanksgiving, we're the fantastic deliverer of turkey. So putting the two together with the Bruins is to help us highlight the kickoff of our 35,000 turkeys that we're looking for this season to feed families throughout the Boston area. So we're thrilled to have the Bruins here with us today.
It's amazing the process and everything that goes on in here. It doesn't look like a big building from outside, but all the food that gets distributed, simply amazing.
The Greater Boston Food Bank provides food to over 600 charities in eastern Massachusetts. 190 towns are served. Over 83,000 people a week benefit from the food from the Greater Boston Food Bank.
I've seen the other end, the distribution and the smaller places that hand out the food to the people individually, but I've never seen where that food actually came from and how it was organized, and it's amazing to see how much of this is donated.
There's so many charities around, and I think this is one of them that definitely is always in need of more food. I think there's never enough that can go around. There's always people that are out there hungry. You obviously need food to survive, so it's one of the top charities, I think, out there. And like I said, they're always in need of people donating. It's one of the best causes around, and it's great to see that they're doing well. But again, it can never hurt to hand in some more food.
Don't go anywhere, because we have got a story for you. There's a buzz on the internet, and it's not what you think or who you think. His name is Eklund, and he's blazing a new trail. Coming in at number 3, we've got something a little off the beaten path. Over the past few years, scores of internet hockey journalists have come out of the woodwork. Many are broadcasters, beat writers, former players, and the like. And then there's HockeyBuzz.com. I know, catchy name, right? When you want the latest trade rumors and league happenings, you go to Eklund. Always writing, always undercover.
My name is Eklund, and I am the anonymous hockey blogger. The website currently gets around 5 million page views per month. It's really exciting. We have about 5,000 new people every day coming from North America to the site.
What it has become right now is a pioneer type of site because, as you see, a lot of the newspapers, particularly in Canada, have taken to doing the same thing. Instead of waiting for their print editions to come out the following day, they are now making use of their websites for instant information.
My site is really all about trying to write what is being discussed. Not necessarily, I mean, rumors, most things I'll write will never happen. Most things that are discussed by NHL GMs never come to fruition. So, but in my site, you have an idea, maybe you get a little bit of a hint of what is out there and what is being talked about. And that leads to great speculation and great talk. Hello. The whole rumor getting process is amazing, actually. Emails helped a lot, of course, but I have about 350 to 400 contacts now. So I actually top out my 6,000 minutes on my cell phone plan every month. We could also get into some of the Conroy to Ottawa rumors. Quite a few things that I broke and that I'm really proud of. The Peter Forsberg signing in Philadelphia, I was the first to have that. And that was a big deal, of course. Last year, the Hossa for Heatley trade. I know there's stuff going on with Toskala and the Bakov. There've been probably, about a dozen or so that I've been the first, absolutely first on, and then many others that I've been the first on speculating about. They don't seem willing to make too many changes. It's interesting. I mean, they really are slow on the trigger, The media in general has been okay with me. The Canadian media, of course, because as an American who sometimes beats them on a rumor scoop, I definitely have gotten my share of letters and emails from the Canadian media saying, leave this to the professionals. There's plenty to go on tonight for sure. That'll be great. During the lockout, when I started this thing, it was important for me to stay anonymous because I was dealing with a lot of people who really wanted to protect themselves. And I found, after that, it was just kind of a lot of fun to be anonymous.
He's kind of an ugly guy, he's poorly dressed. He stammers a lot, doesn't talk very well.
There are people who communicate with him, who I promise they know who he is, if they were able to put 2 and 2 together.
TC is Eklund.
It allowed people to say things to him that he could write that maybe you wouldn't say to somebody that you knew. It was the anonymity of the whole thing that allowed people, I think, to be a little more forthright.
Hello, Eklund. Really? Wow. I can't see Blades getting moved. Chara wants him out. Why? He's not forechecking. Well, it's not his job. He's a mascot. Keep me up on it, okay? Thanks, bye. You just never know what you're going to deal with, It's a tough job.
Hey, hockey fans, it's Ernie Bach Jr. The action around the league was non-stop this past week, so let's take a look.
Vincent LeCavalier does it again.
The helmet and the shoulder, look at that.
Trying to come out in front of another shot.
Herron gets it back, shoots, sliding save, done a rebound, score.
Deflection, scores! Plays to Briere, he scores!
You will not see a prettier setup all year long. It was that good.
Power play to be a rally. Long shot into the goal.
Dan to the inside by Umberger.
What a save! Right off of the puck like that, and Luongo's got that.
In deep, in front, score!
Happening for Kozlov! Kozlov, score! The hat-trick for Slava! Cole scores! His shot, they score! Aaron Cole! That's Cole's in, all alone, he scores! The Hats will cascade down.
Thanks a lot, Ernie. We are coming right back with number 1 on the countdown, so keep it right here on The Buzz. Welcome back to The Buzz. Don't forget, every Thursday, high school and college students with a valid student ID can buy half-price tickets in select sections. And youngsters 12 and under can still see the Bruins play for the upcoming home games against Toronto, Washington, and Florida. Tickets or more information, just visit bostonbruins.com or call 617-624-BEAR. Which brings us to our buzzer beater. There's only one Bobby Orr.
Here comes Orr up the middle. Over the line, trying to go in. He does! He scores! What a goal for a hat-trick! Bobby Orr, his 100th point!
Here's a little known fact. Last month I was escorted from the building at 3 a.m. because I refused to stop watching Bobby Orr highlights. Don't think I won't do it again. Okay, we're here at number 1, and we've got nothing but Bruins. Brought to you by aceticket.com. It's goals, saves, hard hits, and more coming right at you.
Back in the slot for Mera. Shot wide. Rebound. Score! P.J. Axelson on the power play. In front, boys. Shot. Score! Another big hit in the corner. First stage shot hit the post. Bergeron ahead to Boys. Centering pass. Sturm scores! Fisher. Shot. Great save. Thomas with the right pad. Fisher for Ottawa. Short side mid. Glove save. Thomas. Mera keeps it in for Stewart. Brad Stewart. Score! Back to the blue line. Chara shot. Save. Rebound. Score! Glenn Murray on the power play. Brad Stewart. A huge hit on Patrick Eaves. Now Tenfrat alone. Scores! The Boston Bruins have now beaten the Ottawa Senators 5 straight times here at the Garden.
And there you have it, our number 1. Another buzz in the can, but don't despair. We'll be back next week with an all-new show. Until then, don't forget to check out our Buzz page at NESN.com, where you can vote in our latest poll, and local bands can find how to enter our Buzz Band search. Your video and Bruins highlights will share the spotlight together. And keep sending in those mailbag questions, by the way. Thanks for watching, and we leave you with the Hockey Hall of Fame inductions from Toronto. See you next week.
I would also like to congratulate my fellow inductees, Herb Brooks and his family, Dick Duff, and Mr. Arlie Hutchkiss. Thank you very much, and long live hockey.
The Buzz is brought to you by Subaru. All-wheel drive, all year long. Feel the freedom. And aceticket.com for Boston's best seats.
go through the season in that division, you know, with a couple more of those games coming up, it's, you know, you start seeing more of those teams against each other and get a little better feel for, you know, for those opponents. Yeah, I think the first one's the hardest one to prepare for. Yeah, that it does. It helps you. Well, I mean, we played against some good skill players, and we're playing against them again this week. You know, Harrison and Wayne and Manning and Dallas Clark and Cotchery and Coles and, you know, Baker and Pennington, and, you know, so I mean we're playing against good people, and Driver and Jennings and Martin, Bubba, Favre, you know, so I mean it's good competition, and we've got to, you know, we got to make plays on third down and get off the field defensively. But it's certainly challenging because we're going up against, you know, good teams, good offenses, you know, good schemes, you know, that are complementary, give you 4 or 5 different things to worry about, and, you know, you just can't zero in on one guy or one play or one pattern. You got multiple things to defend, and, you know, we got to find a way to get it stopped. They've given up some big plays. You know, there's no doubt about that. I'm sure they'll tell you that. But, you know, when you watch them down after down, their coverage is pretty good. And then, you know, every once in a while something happens, and, you know, there's a longer play in there. I mean, like what happened last week against Minnesota. You know, what happened to Minnesota. You know, Minnesota blew the coverage, hit Driver on a 3-yard slant, ends up being an 82-yard touchdown. Well, you know, they've had a couple of those defensively too. You know, they give up a couple go routes, give up you know, a couple of short catch and run plays, and, you know, in each game where something's gone wrong. I don't know what it was, communication, or somebody fell down, or, you know, when you're playing man-to-man coverage, sometimes that happens. But I can tell you on a down after down basis, you don't see Woodson or Al Harris or Collins or Barnett or Hawk, or you don't see them very far away from the guy they're covering. You know, so, you know, it's hard to count on, you know, somebody making a mistake. You know, be nice if they did, but it's hard. You know, it's hard to count on it.
I know that part of the plan was for Woodson some in safety. Did that ever materialize from what you see?
He played a little bit in safety a couple games ago. Who's it against? I forget who it was against, but he has had some snaps at safety, yes. But most of his plays come at corner, and then he moves inside in sub most of the time. But they do a lot of matching up. They put you know, Harris and Woodson on certain receivers, and they just stay with them the whole game. You know, sometimes even including sub. So, but most of the time, Woodson's been in the slot when they've had 3 corners on the field, but not always.
So that's just more
Yeah, well, they play so much man coverage. They match to the receivers, and they just cover them.
How was Hawk? He was considered NFL ready. How was he?
You know, I think he's done a good job for him. He's a very athletic guy. They you know, they play him on the weak side, and, you know, he gets a chance to use his athleticism over there. He's in coverage a lot, and I mean, you know, if they're in man coverage at the corners, they're in man coverage at the linebackers. So they're in a lot of man-to-man coverage. So, you know, he's athletic. He can run. He blitzes. You know, he's got a bunch of sacks. I don't know how many he has, but he's probably got 4 or 5. I don't know. You know, so he's done a good job for him. I mean, their linebackers are very athletic. You know, Barnett's very athletic. Mike, linebacker inside. I mean, it's different, but it's similar to the Miami defense. You know, when Dave was down there, when Wannstedt was down there, when they had, you know, Zach Thomas playing Mike, and, you know, they had all those fast linebackers in man-to-man coverage, and that's, you know, they had Taylor and the kid that's at Chicago now, and, you know, Packers got KBG and KGB, whatever it is, and Campman, you know, and so that's, and they drafted another one. You know, they drafted James, you know, unfortunately for him, he got hurt. I mean, so, you know, they lost a couple guys. I'm sorry, not James. Who was I thinking of? Who did they get hurt? They just put somebody. Well, anyway, But I think they're trying to have a defensive style similar to the old Dolphins style, with linebackers, good in man-to-man coverage, press, man-to-man type corners, physical safeties, and that's, that style of play.
Does that mean a lot of blitzing?
They probably blitz more than Dolphins did, but they're not. I wouldn't say that. I mean, they don't blitz like Minnesota and Arizona and Washington and some of the teams that we've seen earlier in the year. They don't blitz in those kind of percentages, or they haven't. I mean, they could, but they, anytime you're in man-to-man coverage and the guy that you're covering blocks, then you always have a potential for that guy to just, come and get his guy, but it really looks kind of like a blitz. So sometimes it's sort of hard to tell for the backs and the quarterbacks whether the guy's blitzing or whether he's just, the guy that he's covering is blocking. So he comes aggressively to, fill into the pocket. So you kind of almost have to treat it the same. So there is an element of what we call those hugs, or some people call them green dogs or key blitzes or whatever, but there's an element of that in their defense, and Hawk is a guy, Barnett's another guy that, have gotten some sacks on plays like that. Their guy blocks, they come, the quarterback steps up, they grab them, and that's it. It's an interesting question, because he did do both in college, and they switched him, from corner to receiver, and he returned. So, I think he has possibilities of both. I would, think you'd have to really take a look at him. Maybe he's one thing in one system and something else in another system. I'm not sure. But we thought that he would have possibilities at both spots. Probably start him at corner first. Well, I mean, you're talking about a player that's fast, and he's tough, and he's made some big plays in the return game, in the passing game, and on defense. So, he's got some things going for him. He's only a rookie. He's only been there half a year, so, we'll see how that develops. I think it's, would be way too, regardless of how he looks, it would be way too early to, to probably definitively say this, this is the best it's going to be. He's a hard-working kid that'll probably continue to get better. Just see where that takes him.
You're clearly a fan of the history of the game. Is there something special for you about leading a team into Lambeau Field?
Yeah, there is. I mean, I think that's a special place to play. It's one of the old, even though it's been remodeled very nicely. There's so much tradition in that stadium. You look up in there. Ring of Fame or Hall of Fame, whatever you call it, up there along the, up there above the mezzanine level, and you see all those names, and it kind of, brings a little chill down your spine. There's a lot of guys that I had football cards of, and watched growing up back when the league was only, I don't know however many teams there were in it, maybe like, I don't know, was it 16 or wasn't very many, and there was a lot of familiar names there, so it's a very it's an interesting team. They're organizationally pretty much different from every other team in the league. Their ownership, and their such a small town, and it's football is it's not really competing with much anything up there in Green Bay, relative to other teams that have multiple pro sports and that type of thing. So, it's kind of a unique situation and setting, and a lot of tradition. And, with a guy like Favre that's been one of the great quarterbacks in this era, been there for a long time, that certainly helps keep it going.
Bill, do you have a favorite Vince Lombardi coach?
I mean, I've heard them, but I've not really, no. Yeah, well, sure. Right. Yeah, no, I mean, they're all good. And he was, it was a little bit different game, when he coached it. And he was very, I think the big thing with Lombardi was he was all about execution. It wasn't like they had a lot of, new or exotic plays or things like that. Pretty much everybody knew what they were going to do, but, they had a hard time stopping it. They had good players. And, you know, he was a very disciplined coach, and they executed their plays extremely well on a consistent basis. So whether it be, you know, Starr in the passing game, or, you know, Horning and Taylor and the offensive line in the running game, or, you know, with Nitschke and Davis and all those guys on defense, you know, they were just a solid, consistent, you know, week after week, you know, like the Shula teams were, except that, you know, I thought that the Shula teams had, you know, they had a lot more variety, you know, kind of the Paul Brown, a little bit of the Paul Brown type of offense and defense, you know, where they seemed like more innovative and creative. Again, I'm not taking anything away from anybody. I'm just saying it was just a contrast in styles. Well, I think they're very important. I think that, you know, throwing and catching and covering have a lot more to do with it now than they did, you know, 40, 50 years ago. But I wouldn't, you know, without blocking and tackling, you still don't, you can't block, you don't have much on offense, and if you can't tackle, you don't have much on defense. So it's got to start there. It's no question about it. But I think that, you know, the skills that we see, you know, on a weekly basis in this league as it relates to the passing game they're pretty important too, you know. Right, with the Lions. Yeah, well, you know, that whole division back then was, you know, it was Soldier Field, and it was Metropolitan Stadium, Minnesota, you know, and then we played in Milwaukee. It was, which I think we played there one year, you know, Minnesota and Milwaukee, where the baseball fields were, both benches were out there on the same side of the field, you know, out in center field. So, you know, it was a little, I mean, we don't see that anymore, obviously, you know, and Fran Tarkington and you know, that, but so, yeah, it was, again, there was a lot of tradition then. It was a lot closer to the you know, Vince Lombardi years and all the championships of the 60s. So, and they were, you know, but they weren't as good then, you know, as they had been, you know, a decade earlier. At that point in time, it was really the Vikings and Bud Grant. I forget how many divisions in a row they won, but it was a lot. You know, they kind of, after the torch was passed from Green Bay to Minnesota, and then it was Minnesota, it seemed like year after year. I mean, we couldn't beat them.
I know Vrabel was pretty well publicized that he'd go back and he worked somewhat hot. Can you see what a younger player can take from him, and how Vrabel could go with maybe some of your younger guys?
Oh, Mike's great. You know, Mike's. I think that if you know, I mean, he's a very smart football player. Not just his own position and technique and what he's doing, but he has a good understanding of what, you know, what all 11 players are doing, both on our side of the ball and on the other side of the ball, and in the kicking game. So, you know, I think he's very astute. He's attentive. He picks up things that even when you're not talking to him, you know, he hears you say to somebody else, and he registers that, and it, you know, and it sticks with him, and it, you know, it's a coaching point that he'll remember and remind you of, you know, a year or half a year or a week later, you know, and it wasn't even said to him, you know, so he's that kind of guy. And then, you know, he's a very good communicator on defense. You know, he's probably one of the best that I've ever coached in terms of communication on the field, you know, seeing formations, making calls, relaying calls, making sure that that the right person knows what to do. You know, you have a lot of calls on defense. Some relate to coverage, some relate to run force, some relate to pass rush lanes, some relate to run stunts and so forth. And a lot of times when players make a call, they just call something, you know, silver, or trio, or slam, but it needs to go to a specific person, you know. So just to call silver, well, that might not mean anything to 8 of the players on defense, but there's 3 guys that really got to know that, and the player might not even really be making the call to those players, you know.